Hello everybody, Julie Heinrich, Marketing New Business Development Manager for CTSI, back with you on another beautiful day for our YouTube series, All About It, or All About IT. It's really how you want to look at it. So today I am honored to be joined by James Morrison. He is the Senior Director of Security Programs for Intelisys. Yep. And also has been our speaker for our cybersecurity event for the past,
Fourth year, right?
Yes, yeah. Somehow we haven't scared him off yet. So,
right.
And here he is back again. So
beautiful Lubbock.
Yes, beautiful Lubbock. But welcome to the show, and
thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's nice to come out here, and it sort of reminds me of my days of living in New Mexico. So.
Oh yeah, yes. Lots of dirt, no trees. Yeah, good times.
I can see the trees as far away. So yeah.
Right. All right. Well, if you would just tell us about your background, kind of how you got into IT.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I was on the drive over. I was talking about 36 years ago. I joined the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And they put me in an IT field, and it was kind of luck, a little bit of luck. You go in and say, I want a job, and they put me into what we called computer command and control, which is computer networking. Yeah. And so I did 8 years in the Air Force, gained sort of those early chops of learning all about what we now see as core of technology. And then I decided I wanted to do something else. Joined Lockheed Martin for a year, and then kind of my big claim to fame was I needed another job. And in New Mexico, government jobs are king. So I got a job with the FBI. So did 22 years in the FBI, 14 in Albuquerque, and then transferred to the Houston office where I started working cybercrime. Oh, yeah. So that was kind of the cool thing. Again, a little bit of opportunity, and I seized those opportunities. And I started working cybercrime and became a digital forensics expert, and worked a lot of cyber investigations, incident response. And it was in a time before cybersecurity was really a thing. Mm-hmm. So 2012, 2013, which I talk about sometimes at our event, cybercrime wasn't really a thing. We had nation states, and it was all secret stuff, and it was Russia and China and Iran, and it was kind of cool. It was all secret behind the scenes. But then it changes, 13 and 14 and 15, and we start to see cybercrime become this thing. And so my job changed. I started having to investigate those criminal groups which were operating differently, but also we needed to be more active out in the industry, because companies weren't prepared for it. They were still thinking, I don't have any secrets, nobody's going to come after me. And so I started running down this cybersecurity path, and it's become a career. And I retired in 19. Worked for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise for a couple years. Loved the company, but there really wasn't a security conversation. So I became a chief security officer. Didn't like that. I realized I need to be in front of people. And I think that's where I met you all about 5 years ago at an event in Dallas. And it's about education. Yeah. It's about, I got to get in front of people and say, listen, this is real. It's not going away, and you're a target. And I think that's IT became cybersecurity, and I've just started kind of developing this, and I travel all over the United States and help companies understand the threat, and then how do we fix it?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, just from, personal experience as well, I really appreciate it because, a big part of this is educating people. Yeah. And I think sometimes people don't understand the severity of it. Right. Sometimes I feel it gets a little bit, they get a little exhausted by it because it's cybersecurity. Right. And I say all the time, I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop talking about it, so you're going to get tired, but I don't care.
Well, that's it. And I think, and so I understand. I mean, it's not, I don't want to sell fear, because that was kind of what started off with. Everybody tried to sell fear in cybersecurity. So instead, let's talk about awareness. Yeah. And also not just about awareness, but what is your strategy? And unfortunately, cybersecurity is something that's not just IT anymore. Mm-hmm. It's about corporate risk. And companies are actually finding that risk, and they're losing money because they're being shut down for weeks on end. And so that's why cybersecurity and security technologies are also chief financial officers, CEOs, boards of directors, legal officers. And that's why the education isn't just about educating the IT manager. They get it. It's educating further up that stack and getting everybody to understand that you got to do something different. And hope isn't a strategy. And that's kind of the teaser for where we're going to talk about this year is hope can't be your strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, safe to say with your background, I think you know quite a bit about cybersecurity.
I always say it this way, right? I hate the term expert, because I have an expertise. And so over time, because I stay in the marketplace and I talk to companies all week long. Part of my job, like yours, is I talk to somewhere between 5 or 8 companies a week and talk to them about their incidents. And unfortunately, in this last couple of months, about a third of them have been companies that have been hit by ransomware. So I'm talking to them after the event, and they say, and almost every time they say, "I wish I had done."
Yes.
And that's what that regret, that I wish I had done something different, is something I try to carry forward, is to say, listen, you will regret this. And I'm not trying to be, whatever, but at least start looking at what it's going to cost you and plan for it. You may not get there, and you may still get hit, but what we want to do is minimize the impact and not make it really a room, shutting you down for a period of time. All we have to do is look at MGM Grand.
Yeah.
All we have to do is look at United Healthcare. We look at these really large companies that have been hit, and the amount of damage reputationally as well as financially is enormous. I mean, it probably could reach as high as $1 billion with Marriott or with MGM Grand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's scary. So what would you say the biggest challenge for business owners today, or just in general businesses? Because I feel like you were talking about how you have to have more of that, ownership and C-level conversation. And so do you find still more resistance, or are they starting to become more? There's
more of an openness to it. And I think one of the things I'm trying to get them to understand is it's okay to reach outside of your stack of people, right? And we've had this conversation before, but your IT team can't do it all. And I think what's happening is companies are starting to recognize that the skill set for cybersecurity and the skill set for incident response is different than the skill set to manage an IT infrastructure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we can take off of your plate and what that budget will look like. So the cool thing about cybersecurity is I can create a roadmap. I can actually sit down and say, in 3 months, let's do this. In 6 months, let's do this. 9 months, and actually build a roadmap to implement changes to become more secure.
Right.
And what's cool about that is it also helps. If I'm a board of directors and you've given me this roadmap, that helps me and gives me some confidence in you that you're doing the best to protect my brand and protect the reputation. And so I think that as long as I can stay in that conversation and stay out of the technology, because the chief financial officer doesn't care about technology, not necessarily. They care about bottom line, and the CEO typically cares more about what is my job of my company and what am I doing to forward that. And so I think the conversations have been more positive, but we have to be patient. And that's the hardest thing, is that a lot of cybersecurity, it's about trust. I have to trust you enough that you're not going to do more damage or add additional risk into my environment.
Yeah, very, very good point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So without maybe giving too much away for October, is there anything that you've seen or, tips that you would give as far as, because it changes all the time, and, maybe what a threat last year may not be one this year, or it might still be, but worse.
Well, the biggest one is we've talked about AI. We've talked about Chat GPT. Well, the bad guys are now able to take AI and exploit vulnerabilities faster than ever before. So now what I can do is I can go to Chat GPT and I say, scan these companies and tell me if you find a vulnerability in their firewall or in their web-facing server, and then let me know what I need. What is that CVE? So it can actually look at the CVEs are registered vulnerabilities with the Homeland Security.
Okay.
So, for example, there was just one in a firewall last week. CISA put it up there on Monday, and by Wednesday, the hackers were exploiting it.
Wow.
That's fast.
Yes.
And that's the problem is that now vulnerability management is this rising star in the cyber world, and a lot of companies aren't fast enough to identify their vulnerabilities and actually fix them. So that's kind of going to be a talk track as we go forward.
Yes, that's so scary.
It is, and it's hard because we have to report it, right? So the company has responsibility to report that vulnerability to its customers.
Right.
But the customers aren't necessarily, their mind is, I've got a few months to patch that. And so the criminal understands that they've got, kind of a limited period of time for that vulnerability to be exploitable. And that's where we have to have a better program. We have to have a more active role in identifying, and then what's my plan to patch that?
Right.
Yeah.
So going forward, what would you recommend, businesses do besides come to our cybersecurity event in October?
Well, it's start really looking at it. I always start with policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an incident response plan? Do you have a disaster recovery plan? Have you tested them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We got to test. Then the thing is when's the last time you did a penetration test or a security assessment?
Yeah.
These are very basic blocking and tackling. We're in football season, right?
Right. Yeah.
So basic blocking and tackling says that these should be the things we do that are not technology. They're just paperwork exercises. And if you don't have somebody that can do that, we can help you find somebody that will help you write those plans, test those plans, and then you at least know where you stand. Once I know where I stand, then I start building the roadmap.
All right.
And that's the goal, is to start then saying, okay, I know I need this, and I know I need this, and I know I need this. But cybersecurity is different today than it was 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think what companies are starting to sort of understand is that I can't just use an antivirus and think that I'm okay. I can't use a firewall from 10 years ago and it's going to be okay. The technology is doing more to protect us, but that means we have to engage that technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Well, any other words of wisdom or anything else that you would add?
No, I just think, as like I said, it's I'm not worried about fear. We're not selling fear, but instead what we're looking at is let's be aware. Let's understand that it doesn't matter your size. I say this all the time in my presentations. Small companies are being hit just as much as large companies, and statistics show somewhere about 60%, 70% of cyber attacks are hitting companies under the size of 1,000, right? So that you are going to be, and it doesn't matter if you live out here in Lubbock,
Right.
Yes. There is no obscurity on the internet, because the cool thing about the internet is it makes me visible to the world. The bad thing about the internet is it makes me visible to the world.
Right.
So
Yes.
it's a two-edged sword. So let's engage. Let's know. You have to know what I need to fix, and then let's move forward and fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, James.
Yeah.
I always learn so much from you. I always enjoy our conversations. And I really look forward to having James back with us in October. So please sign up. It'll be October 15th through the 17th, and we will be on a 3-day roadshow, and James will be at all 3. So he's going to be packing up and going with us to all 3.
In the car.
In the car. Yep. Little road warrior here. But, please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do. A lot of what James talked about, we can help as well, and have that conversation and see where you're at, and maybe put action plans and steps in place to get you to a better spot. So thank you again so much for joining us. We'll be back next month. I'm Julie Heinrich, and I'm all about it.